What's up, hand dudes? Peter von Panda here. Hey, standing here with some golf clubs. And the reason I want to show these to you is that I have a confession to make. When I first learned how to golf, I bought men's golf clubs. And unfortunately, I am kind of weirdly shaped. I'm about average height, but I have really short legs and really long torso and really super long ape-like arms. So my issue is, when I would line up to take a golf shot, my hands are much closer to the ground than a lot of people, even the same height as me. And so what ended up happening is that when your golf club sits on the ground, it's supposed to be flat, but because my arms were always lower, I got this kick up like this. The toe would ride above, the ground more than it's supposed to, and you'd end up kind of hooking a lot of shots. Now, that's okay. As a kid, didn't have a lot of money, so what I did is I started to compensate in the way my stance was set up. So what I would do is kind of push my arms out, I would choke up on the club, I would kind of do contort and play a little compensation golf. But because I couldn't really afford to have my clubs adjusted and kind of the lie and everything adjusted to my shape. So over time, I just kind of learned to deal with that. But what ends up happening is, all those little tiny adjustments that you're making throughout the swing kind of add up, and you generally aren't very consistent. Well, I've kind of decided to fix that because I'm in a place in life where I just don't give a rip. And so I'm gonna fix it, regardless if it means destroying a pretty good set of clubs. I'm not gonna destroy them, but what I am gonna do, and I'm gonna show you how to do here, is actually shorten the clubs. So one of my biggest issues is that the clubs are just too long for me. And they're actually massively too long. One little piece of knowledge that I've learned is that club lengths are getting longer and longer and longer. But on the PGA Tour, pros are actually shortening up their club length. So the average professional golf club, I believe, is quite a bit shorter than the commercially retail available golf club, which I think would surprise a lot of people. So what tour players are doing is shortening up for more control, which is kind of important, and kind of the regular mass public, Joe Schmo like us, are kind of going for longer clubs to try to get more length. Anyway, I'm going to shorten up these clubs because that's really the big factor that creates an awkward lie on my clubs and really kind of ugly shots. Now, I've done some measurements, and the way you want to determine how far you want to trim the butt end of your club shaft is you want to play some golf and choke up on your clubs as much as makes you comfortable. Once you do that, you're going to start to determine how much excess club you have, and you're going to want to trim that off. Now, you're going to want to make sure that you still have some club above the palm of your hand, in the pad of your hand, because obviously you're not going to just want to hold on to the end of the club, so you're going to need it to ride. I am going to take off a massive 1.5 inches off of all my clubs. I think that sounds extreme. I was a little worried about doing it, but I'm only going to cut once, because what I'm going to have to do is remove the old golf grips here, trim the shafts. We have both steel shafts on my irons and graphite shafts on my wood, so I'm going to show you how to do that for two different shaft types. And then we're going to trim them, and then we are going to re-grip these things because you can't reuse the grip, and so I'll show you how to do that too. But I think after we do that, my golf game is going to drop, 80, 90 strokes per 9 holes. So let's get cracking. All right, guys, so one thing you might want to get before you start doing any of this is something like this. From Wedge Guys, it's a complete grip kit. So what it includes is 15 premium grip tape strips, which is nicer, I think, the strips that are pre-cut instead of like a roll of grip tape. One rubber vice clamp, which you can see there on the front, and then one 4-ounce grip solvent. I also use mineral spirits too, and I really like that. So this is kind of nice because they all come in one little package. You can pick this up on Amazon for about 20 bucks, and this is going to get you started on re-gripping your clubs without having to go out and kind of piecemeal everything together on your own. So pretty nice little set here, and particularly you might be able to get all your stuff at a hardware store, but this little grip vise kind of for holding the or the shaft vise for holding your golf clubs in place in a vise is pretty useful, because this is not something that I know where you buy it from unless you order it online. The first thing I want to do here is get my old grips off of my shaft here. This is going to be the same for re-gripping nice shaft. And so you kind of put your grip vise on, and then you want to open up your vise here, get it planted. You don't want to crush your shaft. And then they do make a tool to cut this grip off. Obviously you're not going to use it, but an X-Acto knife works fine too. And sometimes I usually cut away from myself just to be safe. Usually what you'll end up doing is maybe cutting some of the tape, but it's not really that big of a deal. Once you get your grip off, you may be left with this tape, and depending on how old it is, you may end up needing to cut it away. Sometimes you can get a little lucky and peel it off too, but oftentimes, especially on older grips or older clubs, it's on there pretty good. So you just got to get that off too. Of the shaft you want cut off and mark with a little Sharpie where you want to cut. I'm going to cut right there. You have a number of ways you can do this. You can actually use kind of a chop saw, like an abrasive cut-off saw. Or if you're just doing one club and you kind of want to do a nice precision cut, you can use something like this, a industrial pipe cutter. And I'm going to use it on here just to kind of show you how this works. You tighten it down and you twist it. And as you're twisting it, it's going to kind of score that metal, and you keep tightening it, going to eventually get the shaft cut here. So, just loosen it up, take this off, and now what you want to do, you usually get a pretty precise cut with these pipe cutters. I've got a cordless drill with a little end grinder, so I'm just going to deburr it a little bit just to make sure there aren't any sharp edges as I'm sliding the grip back. All right, guys, so another way to cut a shaft is, like I mentioned, is an abrasive chop saw, but this is kind of like a handheld abrasive chop saw, my Ryobi angle grinder here. And so what I wanted to try doing is, once I've made the mark on the shaft here of where I want to cut it, I thought I'd give this a try and see if it would cut it here, because a lot of people have angle grinders at home, and so you might be able to kind of speed up the process with one of these. Let's give it a try. All right, guys, I am not your mama, but you should be wearing eye protection if you do this. Let's give it a shot. Well, I was kind of going pretty gingerly because this golf shaft isn't as tight in here as maybe other things that you would cut, really force down. So I wanted to be a little ginger, but obviously no problems cutting that down. And then I kind of finished it off just to make sure it was a nice rounded and smoothed off flat end there. So obviously this thing works just fine and no problems there. Depending on which way you're oriented with it, though, you may have sparks flying forward or maybe back at you, obviously, as you saw there. So just kind of keep that in mind, because the disc only spins in one direction. All right, guys, so I have the grip off my graphite shaft off my wood. So sometimes you'll have graphite shafts like this, and I've gone ahead and marked it, but instead of using a chop saw or nail grinder or something, mechanical or powered, I'm just going to use a regular hacksaw. I think I get a little finer control. You don't want to splinter the shaft at all, and this might take a little while, but given that it's a softer material, you just want to be careful, and it shouldn't take long. And there you have it, graphite shaft, cut a little shorter, just as simple as that. All right, now installing the grip is a pretty easy little task here. So what I've got here are these Karma grips, which I showed you in a review, and it's going to go down to right about here. And the first thing I'm going to do is take one of these pieces of grip tape, and I'm just going to peel it from the backing. It's double-sided, and I'm going to put it on so that there's maybe just about a 1/4 of an inch overlap over the end. It extends over the end, maybe just about a 1/4 of an inch. And the nice thing is you can kind of just center these, and everything is right here. So I just put that on. I'll remove this after I kind of wrap it around here. Just get it nice and tight. And then I'll start removing the backing. Roll that grip tape all the way around. As you can see, I've got it all the way around, and it's nice and sticky. So there's some glue there. Kind of fold the ends in a little bit on this end. And now, what you're gonna do, and for me, I'm gonna use mineral spirits. And what I'm gonna do here is kind of plug the hole on the back of the grip here. There's a little tiny hole there, you can see. And I usually pour a little mineral spirits into the grip itself. And I have a little catch pan below it to catch my excess. And then I use it to kind of cover the grip here, the grip tape, with mineral spirits. I catch it in this pan because I kind of reuse that. And then so, now what we can do, and if you don't get it all, you can just pour a little mineral spirits over the grip tape, but you want that nice and wet so that everything flows easily over the stickiness. And when it dries, it'll be nice and tacky and permanent, or pretty permanent. And then you just kind of want to work the end of the new grip over the tape here, and then you just push it all the way down. And work it down the shaft, and then you get it on there, and then you kind of line up the grip handle too if you want, if that matters to you. And then just wipe away if you get a little extra glue that kind of squeezes out the end, just a wet cloth, and then you set it there to dry. All right, guys, got them all done here. So we're taking a look at them after they've all dried, and they're pretty nice to use. You can see, you know, they all kind of fall in line, and generally, you know, it looks like we didn't screw anything up. You might say that the 1 wood and the 3 and the 5 wood maybe are very different lengths. Well, it's actually a 1 wood, a 5 wood, and a 7 wood. So that's why that is. Now, a couple things to remember here is once you've cut down golf shafts, you may actually have to add additional weight to the club head, and that's because your perceived weight is going to be lower on a shorter shaft. And so you may actually have to do a little bit of extra weighting to kind of get the feel down and to kind of keep your swing consistent. But overall, the process, while it's not hard, it just takes a while. And probably by the last club, you're going to be in a nice rhythm with a good technique down, and you can probably do a bunch after that, but you'll probably be finishing up right at that point. So, removing old grips, cutting shafts, installing new grips, it's as easy as that. Anyone can do it, like I did it with back alley garage techniques. Peter Von Panda. Out.